That Friday evening, I stood in front of the mirror, carefully applying the final touches of my makeup. It had been months since I'd gone out with my friends, and tonight felt special. A girls' night was exactly what I needed to recharge. I wore a new dress I had bought just for the occasion, something that made me feel confident, fun, and a little daring. As I slipped on my heels, I couldn't help but smile. My husband, Daniel, had been supportive when I told him about the night out. "Go have fun," he'd said casually earlier in the week. But when I walked into the living room, all dressed up, his eyes widened, and the expression on his face shifted in an instant. "Wow," he muttered, setting down his phone. "You look incredible." His tone carried something more than a compliment. It was almost possessive, almost hungry. I brushed it off with a laugh, thinking he was just being sweet. "Thanks, but I'm already running late," I replied, reaching for my purse. That's when he stood up and blocked my path. "You're not going anywhere like that," he said softly, but his words were firm. I blinked in surprise. Daniel wasn't the controlling type, at least not usually. "What do you mean?" "It's just girls' night." He tilted his head, studying me like he was seeing me for the first time. "Exactly. You look too good for just a girls' night. That dress, those heels. No, you're staying here with me." I laughed nervously, thinking he was joking. But when he took the purse out of my hand and set it on the counter, I realized he was dead serious. My heart raced with confusion. Was this jealousy? Possessiveness? Something else entirely? "Daniel, the girls are waiting for me," I said, reaching for my phone. "I've been planning this for weeks." But he only shook his head. "I've been waiting for this for weeks," he countered, his voice low and steady. "A night where it's just you and me, no distractions, no excuses." His words caught me off guard. We hadn't had a real date night in months. Work, family, bills, it had all piled up, and maybe I had been so focused on escaping to friends that I hadn't noticed how badly he wanted my attention. Still, I hesitated. "You can't just hijack my plans like this," I argued. But Daniel walked to the kitchen, pulled out a chilled bottle of wine, and set 2 glasses on the table. "I can, and I just did. Cancel with your friends. Tonight you're mine." A part of me was angry, annoyed that he assumed he could dictate my evening. But another part of me softened when I saw the table he had set. Candles. Our favorite meal, already warming in the oven. He had planned this all along, and I had almost missed it. I texted my friends a quick apology, explaining that something had come up. They teased me with heart emojis, already guessing the reason. I put the phone away, still conflicted, but also curious. Daniel pulled out a chair for me, his eyes never leaving mine. "You deserve to be reminded what it feels like to be adored," he whispered. "Not just as my wife, but as the woman who stole my heart." My breath caught in my throat at the sincerity in his voice. Dinner was slow, thoughtful, and filled with laughter. He asked me about my week, really listened, and even confessed how much he had missed me. The intensity in his gaze made me feel like we were 20 again, back when every moment together was electric. After dinner, we sat on the couch, sipping wine, talking about everything and nothing. The atmosphere was warm, intimate, almost fragile, as though if I spoke too loudly, it might break. I realized then how much I had been neglecting us in my effort to find escape elsewhere. At one point, Daniel reached for my hand. "You don't see it, do you?" he asked quietly. "See what?" I replied, puzzled. He smiled softly. "That you're still the most beautiful part of my world. And sometimes, I need to remind you, and myself, of that." Tears stung my eyes, unexpected and raw. I had dressed up for a night out with friends, but in truth, I had forgotten how much I longed for a night like this, with him. My husband. The man who knew me better than anyone else. The evening stretched into hours of connection we hadn't shared in years. No phones, no distractions, just us rediscovering each other. It felt like peeling away layers of distance that had slowly built between us over time. By the time midnight rolled around, I didn't miss the bar, the music, or even my friends' chatter. What I had was far more meaningful. A reminder that love doesn't survive on autopilot. It needs intention, effort, and sometimes a little stubbornness. Later, as I changed into pajamas, I caught Daniel watching me with that same intensity as earlier. "Still think you should have gone out?" he teased, a playful grin tugging at his lips. I shook my head, smiling through the tears. No. I was exactly where I needed to be. We curled up together in bed, the kind of closeness that felt brand new, yet deeply familiar. As he held me, I realized that sometimes the best nights aren't the ones we plan, but the ones we never see coming. The next morning, I woke up with sunlight streaming through the window, Daniel's arm draped across me. My phone buzzed with messages from friends. "So how was your night?" Winking face, I laughed softly and didn't even bother replying right away. Because for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I had missed out on anything. Instead, I had gained something much greater. The reminder that my marriage wasn't just surviving, it could still thrive. Over coffee, Daniel kissed my forehead. "Thanks for staying," he murmured. I smiled, leaning into him. "Thanks for giving me a reason to." From then on, we promised each other something small but powerful, to never let the spark fade quietly again. We would carve out time, make plans, and remind ourselves why we chose each other in the first place. Looking back, I realized I had dressed up for a girls' night. But the universe, or maybe fate, had other plans. And those plans brought me back to the heart of what mattered most. I didn't lose a night out with friends. I gained a night I would remember for the rest of my life. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything.